Before we get on to addressing the CSS on there, I didn't even realize this till now. I guess I've been too busy talking, but I pasted this in here twice. So I need to go back and fix this. This is just supposed to be that H2 code that says about this site. It looks like what I did was when I was pasting this from the other pages rather than paste it here where I was supposed to, I accidentally pasted it in place, or yeah, that's right there. I accidentally pasted it down here over the H2 tags. So I'm just going to fix that. But you have the example to look at, so you know what's supposed to be there. Let me just show you, before we actually start styling this current link, how I was able to achieve that sense where it kind of looked like it was highlighted. So watch this. I'm just going to go in here and do it for one of the H1 tags, or I should have said for the H1 tag. All I did was put in a property for the background color, and in this case I'll just use red real quick just so you can see. And you can see what happens here is that every element, or most elements anyway, can have a property of a background color. So this represents the space that that H1 tag takes up. So all I did was for the current page, I gave it a color, and then I changed the color of the text to be the background, which reversed it out. So I'll go back in here, undo putting this red in here. That was just for example purposes. And let's go ahead and address our current link. So we could, since it's a class selector for the current link, put it under class selectors, but I think it makes more sense to put it in here in this section with navigation. So again, start out with that period, then we get an idea of the other ones or whatever's available as a class. Double click on current link to put it in there. And I'm going to go ahead and just do one thing at a time to avoid any errors. And the first one I'm going to take care of is the actual color, which will be the font color. And what I'm going to put in there is the background color. And remember, that needs to be preceded by a pound sign if you're not copying the pound sign, which I did not, and finished off with the semicolon. So now when we look up here, it looks like it disappeared, and that's because it's the same color as the background. Now I've gave it a background color, which is the same color as this H1 tag, so it now has that look like it's kind of highlighted or reversed out. And then I'm just going to finish that tag off so I don't end up with any errors. Finish my curly bracket here. And so what's left is for us to take care of the other pseudo states. And compared to this example here, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense for us to have all these wacky different colors in here. I mean, first of all, we definitely want to stick with colors that are in our color palette, but I'll tell you what is the typical norm is that the link is styled for the way that it looks. It's styled different for the hover, which we already took care of. The other state there, let me go back and show you here, is for when it is visited, when someone's already been there. Unless you have a site where you have to keep track if someone's already been on a link or the user's interested in knowing that, no sense making that a different color. And then active just means when they click on it. So in my opinion, they're already committed. It doesn't need to be a different color. So we're going to link all these together. When you want to write CSS for more than one, you just separate them with commas. So now we can go ahead and put in our opening curly bracket and go ahead and put in the styles that we want for it. And basically all we want it to do is kind of blend in with the rest of the page. So probably what makes sense in this case would be to go with that same dark green color that we've been using. And let's finish off the curly bracket. And here's just a little hint for you. If you ever have problems with your code, one thing to look for here in the color coding is this part of the CSS blue, and then the rest of it carrying on with the different color coding. And so what you can see happens here is this would not work right now. So once I put the closing curly bracket in there, that changes back to blue, and so now we know everything should work. So if we preview this in the browser, we should be pretty darn close here. What you're going to find is missing is that it's just going to look a little, something's going to look a little odd to you here. So right now we're on the main page. Main page is highlighted, so that's all good news. But when we go to, say, this page, first of all, we have to tell it that that's the current link. But also, one other thing is the underline is missing there. Now, I know in most cases linking does not have underlines in navigation, and so I can show you basically how you can remove underlining if you want it from anywhere by showing you how to add underlining. So the way we're going to add an underline here is the property is known as text decoration. And then we're going to have some options here, and what we're going to choose is underline. But notice in here is none. So if in the future you have a link, say just like, click here to go to this page, and it has an underline, but you don't want that. You want to be more stylistic. You just want to change the color of it or something. So just remember this. What you would do is you'd go into text decoration and you would select none. But in this case, this wouldn't normally have an underline because it's no longer an active link. So I am adding one to it. Except for one problem. I wrote this in the wrong spot. So I'm going to Command X to cut that out of there. Put that back together. That should have been under our current link. Okay, so now that has that more consistent look. And if you notice here, we get the finger when we go over these, and when we go over this one, it does not, because that's indicating to the user that this is not a clickable page, because it doesn't make sense to try to go to the home page when you're already on the home page. Now, all that's missing here is that these would show up with this same style when we're on those pages. So see if you can figure that out. Pause it. And if not, I'll continue on. So we just need to carry this thinking over to the other two pages for their current link. So an easy way would be to Command C, copy that, and then just remember that I have to close it as well. So for example, go over to the knowledge page, go up to the link for the knowledge page, and replace this tag here, and notice how careful and slow I'm going here, because if you mess up the opening and closing caret, you'll have problems. Command V to paste that in there, and just double check that you have closing caret to opening caret, and again a closing caret there, and then we want to get rid of this and replace it with opening caret / let Dreamweaver finish the work. And you can see it's already updated here, and then I just need to go into favorites and do the same thing there. So it seems the only thing left to take care of on our grade sheet is the JavaScript requirement, which we'll handle in the next video. And just a reminder, don't forget to fill out these questions. This will be part of your grade. The color scheme information has been mentioned already, and here's a good reference for that. If we have not spoken about positive and negative responses to that color, just give me a reminder and we'll hit that as well in class.